Hi guys, today I'm a little bit miffed and we're going to chat about that. So a little incident happened the other day in the game reserve which got me a little bit miffed, and I've looked up miffed on Google and it's an adjective. Miffed, somewhat annoyed or peeved, as in she turned around looking slightly miffed. Well, I was more than a little miffed in the game reserve because we went out quite early and man, we got into position. There was a lovely sighting, some lines. I hit the shutter release button and all I had was beep, 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 because the camera was on the self timer from the night before. So Pat and I came up with a little thing called MIFFED. And it's a checklist of things that you need to check before you head out in the morning, or before you head out on any shoot for that matter. Now the M in MIFFED stands for mode. What mode have you got the camera in? Is it the mode that you actually would like it to be for the current shoot that you're going out on? Or is it still something left over from the night before or from the last shoot? Now, I would recommend either aperture priority or program. Preferably program if you're going to be working with wildlife in the bush. And if you have a look here on the top right hand side, I'll put a link to a video where we talk about the various modes in detail, and you can watch that one and make a decision whether you want to be in program, or the other one I recommend, aperture priority. The I in MIFFED stands for ISO. What have you got that set at? Is it still at 3200 ISO from shooting the skies last night, where you were trying to keep everything sharp or do some star trails? Or is it at the 400 ISO that I would suggest you set it to when you get into the bush and you start to shoot some wildlife? The first F in MIFFED stands for focus point. Where in your viewfinder have you set the focus point? Is it in the top right hand corner, but where have you set it? And my suggestion is to put it right in the middle when you're heading out into the bush, because you don't know where your subject's going to pop up, and at least if it's in the middle you're going to get something, even if it is not beautifully composed. You can work on setting the focus point later, but at least when you come across something in the bush and you've got to start shooting right now, you can focus on there and get those pictures. The second F is for focus mode. What mode of focus do you want to be in? Do you want to be a single shot, which is as you push the shutter release button down, it focuses and locks focus, or do you want to be in continuous? Are you going to be tracking something? Now that needs to come from a little bit of experience and a little bit of what you're looking for in the bush, but my inclination is to probably go for the single shot. On most cameras it's a switch, so that you can switch easily from single shot to continuous focusing, and on mine, on the Panasonics, it's a little lever at the top right hand side of the camera, and you can very easily change that setting if you need to very quickly. But I would suggest you go out and have it on single shot. The E in MIFFED stands for exposure compensation. Where have you got that exposure compensation? Is it at 0, where you might think would be a good place to go out and start shooting? I would suggest that we might go -2/3 on that exposure compensation if you're working in the bush, because you're not too sure what's going to pop up and where it's going to pop up and how it's going to pop up. So rather a little bit of underexposure than a little bit of overexposure, in which case you could blow out your brights and then you've got problems. The final one is the D in MIFFED, and that's for drive. Where have you got your camera set? Is the self timer on, as was in my case? Have you got it to continuous drive, continuous high, continuous low, or in single shot? Now, again, if you're going out into the bush looking for wildlife and stuff like that, I would suggest that you put it onto continuous shooting, so that if something happens, you can get in there and get some pictures. rather than having it on single shot where you have to push down on the shutter release every time you want to take a picture. That can take up a little bit of time, and if you're in continuous focusing, that's not going to work too well anyway. So I would suggest you go out on either continuous high or continuous low, but get in there and get some pictures. You can just, and it's very simple to regulate how many photographs you're actually shooting just by counting them. You know, hold the shutter down, you know, get 3 shots, do the next one, and so on. So that's it for today. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you won't get too miffed out in the field anymore. Do give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this, and don't forget to subscribe, hitting the little alarm bell so that you know when we upload the next one. Thanks for joining us. Have a good one. Cheers.